Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Dear parents, we are about to begin in a few minutes, so please stay seated as we begin today's event. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Good day, everyone. Welcome to Kindergarten Family Engagement Livestream. It is a pleasure to be the MC for this event, and I am Teacher Sarah, and together with me is Teacher Amira.
Thank you, Teacher Sarah. Good evening, everyone. Here is a few housekeeping rules. One, your mic and camera is already off by default. Two, for questions, you may scan the QR code at the screen shown. It will direct you to a form to fill in your questions for us. We will get back to your questions, not at the end, however, before our short break commences. We would like to extend a very warm welcome to all of you. We appreciate your time to join us today. We hope you will learn and enjoy what we have lined up for you, inshallah. I would like to start this event with a prayer, and may I invite Lulu to recite the dua. Lulu, you may on your mic.
اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا علما. اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا علما.
Ameen. Thank you, Lulu.
Let's now invite Hani to recite Surah Al-Zalzalah. Hani.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Iza zulzilatil ardu zilzalaha wa akhrajatil ardu asqalaha wa qala al-insanu ma laha yawma idzin tuhaddisu أخبارها بأن ربك أوحى لها يومئذ يصدر الناس أشتاتا ليروا أعمالهم ومن يعمل مثقال ذرة خيرا يره ومن يعمل مثقال ذرة شرا يره.
Sadaqallahul Azim. Thank you, Hani, for the beautiful recitation. So now, to begin this event, we are pleased to have Madam Salima, our Spectrum Kindergarten Board of Education, to deliver the welcoming speech.
Assalamualaikum and good evening to everyone. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Welcome once again to our Kindergarten Family Engagement Day. Today is a very, very special day as we do have a special guest from our partner, Finland, his school representative that will be joining us, inshallah, in the second session after the break. Alright, today Family Engagement will just share with you your child development progress together with our teacher. And please take note, parents, for this ending month of semester 1, inshallah, we will have parent-teachers conference on Saturday, 19th of December 2020, and we'll announce it to all parents by next week, inshallah. And we would like to welcome all of you together for this ending of semester 1. All right. Once again, on behalf of Spectrum International School, KG, Board Education Member, to all our parents, especially our students and our wonderful teachers, our sincere appreciation for making this event successful. And please enjoy the presentation which is going to be presented by the students. Thank you. Assalamualaikum.
Alaikum salam. Thank you, Madam Salima, for that wonderful speech. Now it is the most awaiting segment where we will exhibit the students' work and activity throughout our online learning module. So I would like to invite Teacher Nehal and Teacher Sumaya to share with us on students' achievement for Arabic, Islamic, and Quran session. Afterwards, Teacher Ain will be with you on Hey and English literacy session for November achievement and, of course, achieved by the students. Then moving on with Teacher Nisha, where she will share a little bit on December progress for Hey and English literacy session. So sit back and enjoy. Bismillah.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Qul ya ayyuhal kafirun la a'budu ma ta'budun wala antum a'buduna ma a'budu.
Abidun. Ma'abadtum.
ما هذا الحرف يا آمنة؟
باء.
باء. هل تعرفين شيئا يبدأ بحرف الباء؟
باب.
باب. أحسنتي. هيا يا زين.
1 and 1 11.
1 and 1 11. أوكي. 11 باللغة العربية. ما هذا الحرف يا زين؟
فاف.
ف. حرف الف.
فراشة.
فراشة. أحسنت. وفيل. ممتاز. فيل. أحسنت. 3. يا ترى ماذا بداخل 3؟ ما هذا الحرف يا ميرا؟
حرف الباء.
ما هو صوت هذا الحرف؟ ب. انظري ماذا فوق الب؟ ضمة. إذا سنقول با بي بو. أي بو. أحسنتي.
قرآني قرآني ربيع قلبي قرآني 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 نور صدري قرآني 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 جلاء حزني قرآني 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 ذهاب همي قرآني قرآني قرآني. آيات منزلات موعظة وبركات. آيات منزلات موعظة وبركات. منهجي هو في الحياة قرآني. منهجي هو في الحياة قرآني.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I'm teacher Nihal, Arabic, Islamic and Quran teacher in KL. We, alhamdulillah, take a unit Marhaba in Arabic, and the students can introduce themselves in Arabic. Ana ismi, ana umri, some information, simple information about them in Arabic. And also in this month, we take a family and family unit, so they can introduce their family. هذا أبي, هذا أمي, هذه أمي, هذا أخي. And also in Quran, in level 1, alhamdulillah, they finished Surah Al-Kafirun, and they are now in Surah Al-Takathur, and in Putrajaya, Surah Al-Ma'un. And in level 2, we alhamdulillah finished Surah Al-Qadr, and now we are in Surah Al-Alaq. Thank you so much.
Bismillah.
Bismillah.
هيا نقرأ الأذكار. من يساعدني في قراءة الأذكار؟ نقرأ الأذكار كي يحفظنا الله سبحانه وتعالى. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين. التمرين الرابع. هيا كلنا رأسي كتفي
رأسي كتفي ركبتي قدمي رأسي كتفي ركبتي قدمي عيني أذني فمي أنفي
عن حلقة الرياحين. سورة الزلزلة.
الرحمن الرحيم. إنا أنزلناه في ليلة القدر وما ليلة القدر. ليلة القدر خير من 1000 شهر. تنزل الملائكة والروح فيها بإذن ربهم من كل أمر.
سلام.
هي حتى مطلع الفجر.
ما شاء الله، بارك الله فيك يا مجدد. 3 كارز.
Yes. من هو المحيي حوري؟ من هو المحيي؟
الله.
الله سبحانه.
الجنة.
Very good. الكوثر means river in Jannah.
ولا أنتم عابدون ما بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. إنا أعطينا الكوثر صل لربك وانحر إن شانئك وهو أبتر.
محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم.
صلى الله عليه وسلم.
Yes, whenever you keep the name of Muhammad صلى الله عليه وسلم.
مرحبا teacher سمية. مرحبا teacher سمية. أهلا teacher.
السلام عليكم. السلام عليكم. الحمد لله. كيف حالك يا عبد الرحمن؟
التحية والتعارف. مرحبا، أهلا وسهلا. ما اسمك؟ ما اسمك؟
مرحبا، ما اسمك؟
أنا اسمي ماما. ما اسمك؟
اسمي عبودي.
كم عمرك؟
4 سنوات. أشم في أنفي، أمسك في يدي.
أحسنتي آيات.
وردي أبيض.
نعم. هيا الآن عمر حبيبي، افتح افتح المايك.
عندي اللون وردي واللون مفسجي واللون أسود.
يا سلام.
Who is المحيي؟ Who is المحيي؟
الله.
الله سبحانه وتعالى.
باللون الأخضر. إذا كلنا أحببنا هذه الألوان. حميرة تحب اللون الأحمر، عمر يحب اللون الأزرق،
يوسف يحب اللون الأخضر، عبد الرحمن ومجدد يحبون اللون الأسود.
أحمد يحب اللون الأبيض.
يا سلام. ماهر repeat after me. أنا بيبي عمر انظر. أحلى عسل. أحسنت عبد الرحمن، يا جميل عبد الرحمن. انظروا صديقنا عمر.
كيف حالك؟ ما اسمك؟ وأنت؟ أنا اسمي محمد. كم عمرك؟ عمري 5 سنوات. كم عمرك؟ أنا عمري 10 سنوات.
جميل 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 يا عمر. شكرا عمر وشكرا محمد. انظروا صديقتنا هاني.
مرحبا. صباح
الخير.
ما اسمك؟ أنا اسمي هاني. أنا اسمي دينا.
هذه دينا. جميل جميل.
أنا من ماليزيا. وأنت؟ أنا من ماليزيا.
شكرا هاني. شكرا دينا.
ماليزيا.
نعم.
مرحبا.
هذه حوري.
ما اسمك؟ اسمي حوري. ما اسمك؟ اسمي ندى. من أين أنت؟ من السعودية.
مع السلامة مديحة. مع السلامة حمزة.
Assalamu alaikum warahmatullah. I'm teacher Sumaya. MashaAllah, the children have indeed achieved a lot. For the month of November, we focused on Arabic greetings such as hello, marhaban, welcome, ahlan. We had many activities from the selected topic. We learned new vocabulary and how to have a short conversation to introduce ourselves. For example, what's your name? Ma ismuka? My name is me. How old are you? Kam umuruka? Children can choose one of their friends to have the conversation with. As for December, we are focusing on the theme about family and friends. العائلة والأصدقاء. They are adding new words to enhance or develop their Arabic vocabulary, such as mother, ummi, father, abi, brother, akhi, sister, ukhti, me, ana. We will continue to do the activities that support and clarify the theme and make it easier for children to learn and have fun at the same time. Thank you. Jazakumullah kul khair.
With my little eye, something on top of the roof has wings.
What?
It has wings and feather as well. What am I? Okay, can we have Tichain speak first? And then Omar and then Mira. Okay? Yes, Tichain. I think I'm a bird. A bird?
Flying in house. Because it has wings. Birds.
So you have the same answer with Tichain. Who else want to try?
Teacher.
Okay.
Fan.
Fan. He says it's a... Let me...
I think it's a fan also.
Okay, Zainab. Okay, Omar.
Kindness is being nice to people and being kind to people and doing good stuff to people. And also be kind to our pets.
Yes, good job. We have to be kind to our pets. Animals.
We cannot say the bad words to other people.
Yes. Wow, hold on. Okay, now we
draw the line.
Yes, draw a line above the circle. Sorry.
A line.
Listen.
Okay, number 3.
Number 3, next to the circle, draw me a star.
Next circle, draw a star.
Next to the no, you can do it. It's okay if you got it wrong. It's okay. Mira, don't show. Mira, don't show Sarah. Okay, this is the last one. Okay. First, this is the last one. You have to put the star next to the circle.
I don't know.
Okay. In between the circle and star, draw me a heart. A heart? Basketball. Wow. Yeah.
Me too. Basketball.
Wow. You have basketball in your house? Parabi. Okay, Parabi, show me your talent. Okay, next, Omar.
I'm so good at singing.
Okay, can you sing us a song?
Let me think which song. Okay. If you happy, clap your hands. If you happy, clap your hands. If you happy, clap your hands, clap your hands. If you happy, clap your hands. One little monkey, Jesus. Yes, I do.
Assalamualaikum. Hi, I'm Teacher Ain. So, we did a lot of activities, didn't we? Alright, I will brief through with you our achievement. For here November activities, we have focused according to the theme, which was about my strength. We did so many activities from the theme given. We learned about what superhero is, or we prefer to call it a role model, where we share our favorite superhero, and we did superhero costumes too. And then we learned about what kindness is, who do we have to be kind to, what are the 5 magic words, and then we learned about preposition. We did some games on this topic, and the children really had fun in this activity, where they have to work on their thinking skills on where to place the shapes according to the position given. And also, we did a show me your talent activity. It is also one of the best activity where we can see a different talents from our children, and most of them are very talented in many areas, some in rhyme, some in storytelling and acting too. Next, for Hey English Literacy in November, children practice group 3 from Jolly Phonics, which are G, O, A, L, F, B. So we usually emphasize on sounds, action, including the songs too. In addition, we did the blending of letters, spelling, reading, as well as writing practice too. Sit back and enjoy the next video. Thank you.
Who is the best
Our prophet.
The best superhero, Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam.
Get ready to do the robot. Robotic. Do the robot.
Come on.
I am a robot.
Oh, down. Now you're going under the table. Right? And in between the sofa, moving around. This one is fun. Okay, you try to put the toothpick into the bottle, inside the bottle. Inside out.
Under.
Inside out. And front and behind. And behind. In between. In between.
Be wearing a banda and face for the Wabari world. J is for Jannah, the garden of paradise. H is for Hajj, the blessed pilgrimage. Kh is for Khatam, the seal of the prophethood given to the prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam.
Go to this
Okay, you can draw a line here. Match it.
Yes. My sister already draw. I erase. I don't know what I draw.
Make sure you do it yourself.
Okay, Teacher Sarah.
Alright, good job. Menna. Menna, this is? Can you show me how's the action of letter? No, how's the action? Yes. First, again.
Then a ball.
First, straight down, up to down, and then
a ball.
A ball. Oh, a ball. Okay, can we do it?
Boys for duha, the morning light. The sun has turned from red to white. Boys for tariq, a path to walk upon.
I think I have book, but
okay, go and find your book.
This one.
Yes, now you have to find letter B.
My book is in my working table. I also have a work.
You finished? Okay, Mariam, if you finish, you can do online activity. I've sent on a Google Classroom.
Okay.
Oh. Thank you, Mariam.
I don't. So what number?
19.
19.
Yes.
And what is now? And la is for the beginning of la.
Can you tell me what is the big sister's name?
Poppy. Poppy, yeah. Poppy.
Are you sure it's Poppy?
Yeah, I know. You say that's her Poppy.
No. Teacher Sarah said no. It's not Poppy. Pipi. Okay, wait. Wasita. What is it?
Polly.
Yes.
I didn't like it. So
you didn't like it?
No, I didn't like it, but I like it. I like it.
First, can I have Mira to speak first? Okay, can I have Mira and then we'll go one by one, okay? Okay, Mira, tell me What do you think about the story?
I didn't love it, but I love it as a rainbow. Singing about the red shoes, and I like red, so that's why I also wear red.
Or you don't like it?
That means so. That means so.
Oh, it's so.
That means so.
I see.
Because I like the song.
Everyone, I am rocking in my school shoes. Okay, Farabi, continue.
I am walking. I am going back.
I am rocking.
I am walking.
Allah, there's only one God, and Abraham was his messenger. Allah.
Rabbi zidni ilman warzuqni fahman. O Allah, open the doors of knowledge and have mercy on us. O Allah, please increase my knowledge. Amin.
Amin.
Okay, today we are going to learn letter E. Everybody say letter E. Jadi, okay, ayat. Letter E. What letter is this? E. This is big E and this is small E. This is a capital E. This is a lowercase E. Okay? Alright. Now, can we sing the song together?
Can write here. But the title is group two sounds. So this is the title. And then very good. C. Ooh. And then the small one. Is it correct?
Yes.
Yeah, thank you, Arman.
All right, now Huri's turn. Say it and do the action, Huri. Very good. And then this one.
Go.
All right, can you say it all? Now the word is sit. Okay? So how do you spell sit? All right. So what's the next one?
The fork and the spoon.
Fork and the spoon. This one. M. Yes, if you done, you can do this one. Okay?
Okay.
Okay. While waiting.
Teacher Nisha.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I am Teacher Nisha. As you have watched the students' November achievement on HEY activity and English literacy, I will brief you on what their progress is for this month in December. For HEY activity, the theme for this month is caring for family and friends. So students work on developing their peer friendships by learning what makes a good friend. They are introduced to basic two-dimensional shapes, 2D, and practice creating them by using their bodies. Students also get to design their own thank you friend card and friendship jewelry, which is extended into a lesson of pattern. And also, students listen to stories about friendship and explore three-dimensional shapes, 3D. They continue working on their projects by turning 2D jewelry designs into 3D beads. Lastly, they get to build their dream house using the different shapes. As for English literacy, students are progressing on letters and sounds from group 2 and 3 Jolly Phonics, which they learn the words that build up from these sounds. They learn the spelling, blending, and writing these words. They also get to learn the add family words and rhyming word as additional. So that's all from me. And dear parents, don't forget to scan the QR code to fill in any inquiries if you have so. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, teachers. And well done, students. That's wonderful. Now, I would like to invite our teacher, Amira, for the next segment, which is about the December Enrichment Week.
Thank you, Teacher Sarah. All right, dear parents, as you may have noticed, I have posted at both the class diary and students' classroom about students having practices with their teachers next week, inshallah, and the recitation practices to be done at home with you too. For this week, students will be preparing together with their teachers and with your support, of course, going live next Saturday, inshallah, for their performances on the closure of the semester 1. Including with the parents teachers conference together. For updates, please view the class diary and students' classroom. Stay tuned for more.
So thank you, Teacher Amira. Now we are on the Q&A session. If parents have questions, kindly scan on the QR code and we shall get our KG board member to attend and answer to you directly, inshallah.
The QR code is located on your screen. So if you have any inquiries, you may feel free to scan the code and we'll attend to your inquiries on receiving it, inshallah. Thank you.
All right, we'll wait for another 2 minutes for the question. All right, we don't have any question from parents for the time being. Therefore, we shall have a break and we shall resume back our session at 6 p.m. with our next segment, which is on the Finnish early childhood education by our partners from Hay School Representative. So, inshallah, we see you after the break and stay tuned.
Assalamualaikum and good evening everyone. Welcome back. Please stay seated as we will resume on our next agenda for this evening. Without further ado, let's together welcome our speakers from Hay Schools, Finland, Mr. Hei Titi, Partnerships and Sales Manager, and Ms. Corina Nygren, Pedagogical Director. Welcome.
Salam alaikum.
Hello, good evening, everyone.
Hi, how are you? Perhaps you would like to introduce yourself to our audience?
Sure.
Carolina, would you start?
Yes, ladies first. So my name is Carolina. I am the Pedagogical Director at Hay Schools in Finland, Helsinki. I have been working with this education company since 2017, and my work background goes actually to China, to first branch Hay Schools ever opened in Baotou in north of China. I was there 18 months working as a Finnish mentor teacher and a teacher trainer. And ever since, I have been working in the pedagogical team of Hay Schools, who are responsible for creating and designing the content for our curriculum as well as to our teacher training programs. And I'm very happy to join you today through the screen, unfortunately.
Yes, and my name is Heikki Vartija, and I work in the partnerships and sales team for Hay Schools. I've been in the company. I joined last year, the summer, and really happy to be in this meeting. I'm happy that this meeting has been arranged, and we are already thankful for your very relevant and good questions. And this will be a nice hour with you. So thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you for the introduction. Before I start, dear audience, you may scan the QR code at the screen shown. It will direct you to a form to fill in your inquiries for us. We will get back to your questions at the end of our segment. All right, Mr. Hei Titi, can you let us know about the Hay School organization and the relationship between Hay and Helsinki University, and how this partnership enriches childhood education?
Yes, that's a very good question. And to answer this question, I will show you a couple of slides and images. So this will help you to get a better idea who we are and what we do. Before that, you can see an image from Finland in the summer. So Finland is the country of thousands of lakes. In fact, we have 200,000 clean lakes in Finland. And we are one of the most northern countries in the world. And as you can see, you are almost at the equator, and we are in the north on the polar areas. This is how it looks in Finland in the winter. Why do we talk about Finland when we talk about education? Well, Finland is a very progressive and very developed country. We are at the top in many international rankings, and one of the rankings where we are in the very top is education. So the Finnish education system constantly for years has been ranked at the very top in every international measurements and rankings, including PISA studies. And here's a short video about Hay. So I think that opened up already a little bit about our approach. And Hay School's name comes from the world's Helsinki International Schools, and our headquarters are here in Helsinki, the capital of Finland. But Hay also means hello or hi in Finnish. And to this university cooperation, so Hay Schools was founded by the University of Helsinki and some experienced education and design experts. So our company was a startup of the University of Helsinki in the beginning, and now we are already standing in our own feet. But the University of Helsinki still owns a big part of our shares and is a co-founder. And the University of Helsinki was just recently ranked as the 23rd best university in the world for educational sciences and the 5th best in Europe. This is about our team, and I would like to raise 2 persons from our team and from our founders, and this is also the link that we have to the University of Helsinki. So the second person in the topmost row from the left is Professor Lasse Lipponen. Professor Lasse Lipponen is the professor of early childhood education and the head of the department at the University of Helsinki. And he is one of the founders and co-owners of Hay Schools. And he is one of the gurus behind the play-based early childhood education. And he is now in his research concentrating on for instance, on the compassion and empathy in early childhood education. Another important person behind our company is Dr. Pilvi Torsti, who is a state secretary in Finland and a former member of Finnish Parliament. And then we have a big group of both academics from the educational side and other professionals. But when it comes to the cooperation with the University of Helsinki, so as said, they are the co-founders and co-owners. And Lasse Lipponen as a professor brings us all the latest information and research from the University of Helsinki that we can then implement in our curriculum and in our content. And Lasse Lipponen and the University of Helsinki, of course, also reviews all the material that we make. So we always get the latest. And also the background that we have in the University of Helsinki helps us to be internationally connected because we have, of course, all the connections from the academic world, and we can recruit the best people who get graduated from the university or are the alumni of the University of Helsinki. And in fact, most of our pedagogical people in our team are graduates from the University of Helsinki, including Carolina. Just before we go to the next question, I will just show you briefly our spread in the world. So we have conceptualized together with the University of Helsinki the Finnish research play-based education. We are looking for and working with strong local partners like Spectrum all over the world. And of course, as a result, we want to give the children a happy childhood and effective learning naturally. And just to show you that we have been very successful, in 5 years, we have been able to spread all over the world, opening Hay Schools learning centers, collaborating with schools like Spectrum, and this is how the world of Hay looks at the moment. So that was my input to the question 1.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Heikki, such a great explanation. Moving on to my next question to Ms. Carolina. We had a great pleasure with the Hay Schools Teacher Toolkit being introduced in Spectrum International School, Malaysia. Can you tell us about the unique of Finnish early childhood education?
Yes, so from my perspective, what makes Finnish early education unique? It's actually about 2 things. It's about what we learn and how we learn in the early years. So what we emphasize learning in Finnish early childhood education is not actually individual subjects or individual topics and knowledge. But what we focus on are called transversal skills, which are often also referred as the 21st century skills. So a set of skills and competencies that the children will need in their future life as adults, and skills that actually prepare them to further learning on the next levels of their educational paths. We do not focus too much on detailed information and so-called trivia, but we want to learn and teach about different phenomena that are very close to children's day-to-day experiences. So they somehow relate to the environment where the children are all the time acting and learning. And here we come to the second point, which is how we learn. So we want that the learning is very connected to the daily life of children. And this means that we use all the times during the day for learning. So learning doesn't only happen when teacher is teaching, but learning is something the children are doing constantly. The teaching or the learning methods we in Finnish early education emphasize are quite creative. We have lots of play, and we have lots of time for both teacher-guided as well as to child-initiated play, where children's own interests, their own questions, their own wonders direct the learning during the playtime. We focus a lot on independency skills and to develop children's self-direction, because those are actually the things that we also need later, for example, in school, in order to learn about different topics and subjects, that we need to be quite self-directed in learning. So that's why we also want children to do as many things themselves in the daily life as possible. Of course, we also then, as one very essential transversal skill and future skill, we emphasize a lot socio-emotional skills. So we have a lot of activities. We talk a lot with children about their emotions, feelings, thoughts, ideas. We encourage children to collaborate with each other. Like said, children do not only learn from teachers, but they learn from each other. So we want to emphasize that in the Finnish early childhood education. We also very, very highly pay attention to holistic well-being, which means that we feel both physically and mentally well. And later on in one question related to nature, I will open up this topic a bit more. But for example, in Finnish kindergartens, in Finnish ECE, we, for example, provide lots of outdoor playtime and lots of physical activities for children, because it promotes their holistic well-being. And without this well-being, there are no conditions for young children to learn. So that's about the uniqueness in a very nutshell. And I think the later questions, I will open a bit more about these topics.
Thank you, Ms. Bit more on, if I'm not mistaken, you have somewhat answered question number 3. However, maybe you can elaborate more on the main principle of the Hague pedagogy framework.
Yes. So, like I said to the previous question, learning takes place actually all the time and everywhere, not only when teacher is giving a lesson, but the children learn also. They learn from their peers, they learn from the environment, and actually what drives their learning is their own very natural willingness to explore and wonder the surroundings. And that is why in Finnish model, our approach to learning is very holistic. So we consider all the daily moments as learning moments. And with young children, this is especially important, as we know that the core developmental changes take place actually already in the early years. So the most important skills for life that we learn before age of 7, because that's when our brains develop, our bodies develop the fastest during our lives. So why we want to consider learning as very holistic process is that during the day, children actually practice very, very much different types of skills that actually support not only the development, but also then the further learning. So, and in Finland, we consider that the daily activities such as, and routines such as eating or getting dressed are actually moments in which teachers have very good opportunities to also teach even academic skills. So, for example, when we are dressing up with young children, we can count how many buttons they have on their shirts, or when we are having mealtime, we can practice even very complex mathematical concepts such as evaluation, what is a little, what is much. We can count how many potatoes we have on our plates. And the amount that young children use for very daily activities is actually much bigger than what they use for teacher-guided lessons. At least in Finland, usually the teacher-guided activities take maybe 1 hour a day, and the rest 7 hours are actually these very basic routines and basic care that young children experience. So this is basically what we go after with learning everywhere and all the time, to reinforce the learning and development.
Thank you. Very broad description on the tagline itself. Learning takes place everywhere and anywhere, especially when you emphasize when they are eating. They can actually learn, and teachers also can actually teach them. Wow, amazing. Moving on, why do we group the children according to their achievement and not by their age level? Is it a way that can help in their learning? If yes, how?
Well, actually, this question is also, at least in my mind, it's quite related to children's development. And what I often want to bring up when talking about young children and different developmental steps and stages, I want to always first bring up that not all children develop and learn on the same pace, but learning is very individual. Of course, we have certain things and certain developmental stages that we expect from children, but not all 3-year-old ones are the same. I think even parents who have same age children can see that, different children can be in very different stages in their development. And this is why, for example, in Finland, we do not look at the age so closely and so carefully, because actually it's not about, the learning is not about age, but it's a combination of biological maturation. We can't touch that. It happens automatically and it's out of our hands. And then some part of the learning and development is, of course, sufficient support provided by the environment and the people the child is in contact with. In Finland, we have quite a lot of mixed age groups. And at least to my experience, I have found actually this type of groups very beneficial, as children do not only learn from teachers, but they also learn from peers. So, for example, in mixed age groups of 3 to 5-year-old ones, we have the 3-year-old ones who are most likely practicing the same skills as the 5-year-old ones already have. So the 5-year-old ones set a very, very good example for the younger ones in the group. And then the 5-year-old ones, they maybe already start to practice compassion, empathy. They are very interested in taking care of the little ones. So staying in the same group with the 3-year-old ones offers for the 5-year-old ones very nice experience of how to take care of others, how to express compassion towards the little ones. And then when we have different types of skills, for example, in motor development or mathematics skills or language skills, then we can divide in that mixed age groups. We can take the 5-year-old ones who are more advanced and have a small session with the teacher, just the 5-year-old ones. And then in certain activities, we can be together where the children can also learn from each other. I know that this concept, it's quite unique and it's not very common outside Finland to have this type of groups. But of course, this is something that we refer to in our materials quite often. So these are kind of like the reasons why we give such recommendations also for our curriculum users.
Yes, thank you, Ms. Karina. As you mentioned, the importance of children to learn in everywhere. How about them interacting with the nature? How do you see this importance and the cooperation needed from the families?
Yeah. So, like I said, in Finnish early education, we pay a lot of attention to the holistic well-being of children as it's a precondition for their learning. And the studies research also shows that spending time outdoors actually promotes both physical and mental health and well-being in very effective way. Of course, it's also very natural for us Finnish people to spend time outdoors and in the nature, as we have it quite a lot. We do not have very big metropole cities, but we have quite a lot of forest parks and the weather conditions, well, they are not perfect, but they are quite nice for outdoor activities. So it's also somehow in our tradition and in our culture to spend a lot of time outdoors. But I don't see any problem why it shouldn't be that way. Also in other parts of the world, if the weather and natural conditions allow that, because it really is very effective way to promote children's motor skills. If we think about indoor facilities, usually we just have the flat floor and maybe a couple of stairs. And usually we also have the rule that the children are not allowed to go to the stairs or play in the stairs because it's not safe, They can hurt themselves. But when we go outdoors, when we even go to a park, we have quite rich environment in which children can promote their gross motor skills. They can climb on small rocks, or they can, feel uphill, downhill. They can run, they can walk, they can jump more freely than in indoor facilities. And then we have the mental well-being aspect, that actually spending time outdoors improves also that. And I think also as adults, we know that it's very different to go to a noisy shopping mall where there's lots of bright lights and lots of very loud voices all around, this hassle is taking place. But when we go as adults to parks, for example, I think we find them more relaxing. We find ourselves being more calm in that type of environment. And what I always want to advise parents to do is actually, rather than going to the shopping malls, I would take the kids to those parks or to any outdoor facility. It can be an outdoor sport facility where children have actually more possibilities to unwind and to relax, and then, for example, develop their gross motor skills.
Yeah. All right. Thank you so much, Ms. Karina. My next question, before I proceed to my next question, for the audience, you may scan the QR code and it'll direct you to a form to fill in the inquiries for us to answer questions at the end of our segment, inshallah. Proceeding to my next question, what are the challenges faced by the HEY organization to implement this principle of Finnish early childhood education, especially in Asia?
Okay, thank you. We have already worked quite a lot actually in Asia. It's one of our so-called key markets. So we actually have a lot of learning centers and also curriculum users in Asian countries. And when I was thinking about this question in my mind, three things came to my mind as some type of hardships that we have sometimes faced. So first of all, one of the hardships or challenges is obviously related to learning, and especially to learning outcomes. And here we come actually to the uniqueness of Finnish early education. So instead of very traditional academic learning, we emphasize the transversal skills and transversal learning based on different phenomena. And sometimes, for example, as in Asia, the traditional school culture is still quite traditional and based on specific subjects, specific topics. This is quite new approach to many, and especially maybe to parents whose own experiences are obviously from very traditional school. Even I have attended in Finland when I was in elementary school. I would consider it as very traditional at that point compared to what that kind of schools are now in Finland. So especially for parents, this kind of like more contemporary approach might be not difficult to understand, but it takes time and explanation to understand the benefits. Also, sometimes for the teachers to understand and integrate into a new system. Second of all, as we emphasize a lot of outdoors and spending time outdoors, the environment gives us sometimes a bit of a challenge. I was referring to these huge metropolis cities that we do not have in Finland, but I know that, and we have schools in many these type of locations in Asia. So, for example, there are actually less outdoor activity possibilities, and sometimes our teachers are struggling like, well, how we can provide enough physical activities for our children when we can't go outdoors, or we do not have our own yard as you have in Finland. So I would say that the environment is the second challenge, and actually the biggest challenge, because that's something we just can't turn Shanghai into a very nice small city with lots of forest and trees, but it is how it is, and then we just need to be creative in how to provide the physical activity possibilities for these children in that type of settings. And third one is also related both to teachers and I consider that also to parents, which actually comes to communication. In Finnish early education and in Finnish culture, we are very straightforward and we are very honest and we are very open about what we think and how we feel. And there's also very low level of hierarchy between different people. And this relates to early education in that sense that sometimes our teachers have maybe found that our approach to, for example, collaboration with families is in a bit of a contradiction with their local ways of collaborating. And I think this comes to different values, to different considerations on what we, for example, think about respect, and then a bit different types of attitudes that both teachers and parents might have. In Finland, we are very open if a child is struggling in the service, but I know that in many of our locations, the general attitude might be that if a child is struggling in the service, it's somehow the school's fault or the teacher's fault. And then we come to this question that the service providers, the school, the teachers might be a bit hesitant to tell about the struggles. which is in quite a contradiction with our approach, as we want that the communication would be, and it needs to be, open, in that sense that it's the only way we can actually then support these children who are struggling, when we can very openly, in a respectful way, but openly discuss about the challenges and the struggles they might have in the ECE service. And it's not actually, in Finland, we believe that it's not anybody's fault, but the approach is that then together we agree that what is the best approach to support that child who's having the struggles. So, yeah, these are maybe the three main hardships that we have encountered.
All right. So, a total of 3 challenges, which is learning outcome, environment, and community. Thank you, Ms. Karina. I would take from your point, and we need to elaborate more about the philosophy of students' observation, or by the way, students' progress. What are your thoughts about the exam mindset, and how does it affect the children?
Well, in Finnish early education, we do not have a culture of testing or ranking young children. And for example, we do not give any grades during the early years. And actually also in elementary schools, they start to give numerical grades on the grade 3 when the children are 10 years old. So pretty late compared to many other locations. The reason behind is that what has been also showcased in studies is that putting too much pressure on young children causes toxic stress for the children, and this toxic stress is quite dangerous cause, in that sense that it usually weakens the children's inner motivation to learn. And actually the inner motivation to learn is something we want to create in the children. But if we put too much pressure on them through ranking or exams or testing, it's very unlikely that the inner motivation doesn't born, or it gets weaker. And that then shows in that sense that the children are not actually enjoying about the learning, but the learning is very like the reasons why we are learning, they are not coming from us from inside, but they are something that is forced from the outside. And when we look from a very long perspective, it's not actually very efficient reasons to learn when the pressure comes all the time from outside, and yourself, you are not learning, enjoying about learning. So this is why we want to avoid the testing. But it doesn't mean that we shouldn't evaluate children. And in Finnish ECE and in our approach, the evaluation is exactly done by observing children. And I want to mention that there are also very different ways to exam and test children, and it can be done in a very natural way. It can be actually done in a way that the children doesn't even understand that they are being kind of like tested in that situation. So we can, for example, organize different types of playful activities which have then some type of objective that the teacher is willing to see if the child can do a certain task or not. And we can give also for the children in the daily life something very like pleasant, very basic tasks in which we then observe how the children is coping. For example, what I have done in my work as an ECE teacher, I had a child and I was a bit concerned because he was already 6 years old and he had lots of like difficulties in somehow he couldn't manage the directions. When we were going to the cafeteria, he always went to the wrong way, despite we had spent time in the facility for many months. And then I really started to pay attention to that. And then I wanted to see more, like how is his skills to observe directions and what is his understanding. So then I took him with me to help me to set the tables. And then I put the forks and knives and plates and glasses. I put them first, and then I was asking that, hey, would you like to be my little helper and help me to set rest of the tables? And then he needed to follow my model. And while he was doing that, while he was being the teacher's little helper, at the same time, I was very carefully observing how is he handling that task? Is he able to put on the forks and knives the same way as it is in the model? And I consider that it was kind of like a test for him, but he didn't understand that he was being tested. He was just, helping the teacher, and he was very proud of his work. And of course, the feedback I gave to the child was that, hey, thanks so much for helping me out. You did a great job. And then I made some observations, and then later on, of course, then with parents, I opened up that, we have this type of observations, and I think that there is something, he needs a bit of help in this area. But for the child, the experience stayed very positive. So we do not have the written exams and tests necessarily. If we have the skills in us to do the testing otherwise.
All right.
Sorry for the long story, but I think easier to open these topics through these concrete examples.
No, it's a very broad view on students actually being tested, but indirectly, as how you have explained just now. Thank you so much. All right. Again, parents, you can scan the QR code to fill in your questions for us to answer by the end of the segment. Continuing with Mr. Hekiki, I hope that you're not waiting long. All right. All right. Let's be quite open. Do you think there are contradictions with the local culture and religion upon implementing the HEY program?
Yeah, that's a very good and relevant question. And this is, of course, a question that is often asked from us as we work all over the world. But as we work all over the world, we, of course, have taken this into account. And our company and our curriculum, all the content that we provide, they are religiously neutral. And this means that we, of course, do our very best to avoid everything that would be offending or against any faith or religion or culture. And our curriculum and the content that we provide is such that each school should enrich it with their traditions, with their religion, and other cultural content. So we encourage you to include your local festivities, your traditions, of course, in your school, your prayer times, everything. Our curriculum does not take any statement on that. This is totally up to you how you want to implement the religious or cultural things into the curriculum. And we have been very successful in many parts of the world, and especially in the Islamic world. So we are, for instance, opening 7 schools in Saudi Arabia where the Islamic faith and traditions are of course, very seriously taken and have to be taken into account in the daily operations of the kindergartens and in collaboration with the families. We also opened a school in Egypt. We have a school in Indonesia, opening also in Kuwait. So we have quite a lot of already experience in working also in Islamic countries and with Islamic faith. And one important thing here is that we provide the philosophy and the content. And of course, the teachers always go through the materials that we provide. And the parents can be sure that nothing goes to the children directly without the good teachers of Spectrum having a look at the material. And as we take this thing very seriously, we also want to hear if in any activity that we provide or any material that we provide, there are anything that offense or is against your faith or your beliefs. So we, of course, want to know that so that we can take that into account. But as the program is always implemented by local teachers, there's always this check that from our program, at least there is nothing that is contradiction. And then our values, when we talk about respect, when we talk about active participation, culture of trust, these are universal values that are supported by all the main religions and traditions in the world, and there is nothing that is contradictory to them. But as I said, we would be very happy to also then get your feedback, and we always have our ears and eyes open for all the feedback that we can receive.
Great, thank you, Mr. Hetiti. It's good to know that you have cooperated together with a lot of Islamic countries, inshallah.
Yes.
Continuing back with Ms. Carolina, I think it might be related on the transversal skills that you mentioned earlier. As you know, that every month children learn different themes. However, how does covering all the 10 learning areas, how can our children benefit from this concept of having the same theme but together on, touching on all the 10 learning areas?
Thank you. Yes, like you mentioned, this is actually quite related to the topic of transversal skills that we emphasize a lot. So all learning actually happens very gradually, and it takes time and repetition, especially from young children. So that's our outtake on young children's learning in general, and this leads to that, like I have already mentioned, in Finnish early childhood education, we focus on learning as holistically as possible and about phenomena rather than individual and detailed subject knowledge. And many skills are, like mentioned, practiced in the daily life. And the learning is not happening only during the math lesson or language lesson or PE lesson, but many skills are practiced constantly. So instead of seeing our curriculum and how it's built as a spider web, I rather talk about an ongoing process where certain phenomena, certain skills, certain knowledge is actually repeated constantly along the way. So it's not picking one topic or one teeny tiny knowledge here and one there and then crafting this spider web, but actually all the skills, all the knowledge relevant for early age children, they go here all the time, not necessarily on each lesson the teacher is giving, but in the daily life. And then new elements are brought in when the previous learning has already taken place. So those are then especially embedded to the very daily routines that we are taking with the children in the learning center.
All right, thank you, Ms. Carolina. As you know, it's very important to have a full cooperation from our families to support their children. One of these cooperation is the monthly family engagement. Can you elaborate more about this and how is the importance of the parents to be engaged with their children learning, especially at this stage in early childhood?
Well, I think the main purpose of family engagement is to support the children and a child's development and growth and learning, and to reinforce the learning that is taking place at the kindergarten. Like I said earlier, young children have the most of all aged humans to learn, as the major developmental changes take place before the age of 7. and children learn everywhere, not only at the school or at the kindergarten, but they also learn at home. So also the home serves as very, very important environment for the children to learn. And therefore, it's important that the school or the kindergarten and home are having quite close collaboration with each other, that the teachers, the professionals, and then the child's parents share the upbringing and teaching responsibilities for the child. So the upbringing and teaching is not only for teachers. Of course, kindergarten is a perfect environment for socialization, for example, as in kindergarten we have lots of people, whereas at home we have usually, depending on the size of the family, but let's say that it's from 2 to 10 usually, or even bigger in some parts of the world. But they are a bit of different environment, but they are as important learning environments for the child. And maybe one point I also want to bring up here is that usually it's very harmful for the children and their learning if there are a lot of contradictions between how the child is operating at home and how the child is operating at school or kindergarten. And it very easily confuses, especially young children who do not yet understand and do not yet have so different roles in their lives according to the situation. You know, as adults, we know how we need to behave at work, and we know how we behave with our friends, how we behave with our partners. But children do not yet have these refined skills in taking different roles, but they are quite unique and they are quite themselves in all environments. And if there's a lot of contradictions between how child is guided at home and how the child is guided at school, it can be very confusing for the child, and it can disturb child's learning, not from taking place the best way possible. So in that sense, and in Finland we find the collaboration and the family engagement as very important part of supporting children's learning and development.
All right, thank you so much, Miss Carolina. We're currently at our almost our second last questions. Again, the audience, you may scan the QR code to fill in any questions that you have for us. I'll proceed with Mr. Hikiki. I have two questions for you. The first one is, how do you see the importance of early childhood education to be quite dynamic and updated, and how does the partnership with University of Helsinki plays a role in this matter?
Well, I think I pretty much answered that question already in my first quote. So the University of Helsinki gives us both a financial background and especially a pedagogical content background. So we are constantly in the loop for the latest research, and we are in the loop for the best recruits, and also we can exploit the international connections that the University of Helsinki has. I don't know if you, Carolina, want to add something. I think we discussed quite a lot already about the University of Helsinki and the cooperation, but if you have something to add to that.
Yeah, I think the most important role the university has is actually keeping us up to date with the latest research, to keep our curriculum, to keep our program advanced and contemporary, that we are actually focusing on the matters and issues that are at this time of life essential for young children. So I think that's very much in the core, and very important to have the university to keep us on the right path and right track.
So that we can really call our approach research-based. So I think we have a good background for that.
Okay, well, before I proceed on the Q&A session, my very last question for you is we need to use this chance to know when the Hay Early Primary will start.
Yeah, this is a very good question. We are also very eager to set the specific timeline for this, but unfortunately at this point, our focus lies still on the early years, but we are going to open a first pilot school, including the primary years in Saudi Arabia next January. So we will know more after that, how we see how it flies, so to say. But of course, something that we constantly think about and consider doing, and it has been considered also as quite important topic for many of our partners and around the world.
Thank you. As per our starting, we will now attend to the questions sent by the audience. We had 2 questions before our segment started. The first question was asking on an overview of the wonderful program that our children are learning. So it's my part to answer. So this program is a program, and Spectrum, we have implemented this program starting this academic year, and of course integrating with Arabic, Islamic, and Quran. Focusing on the theme approach, and every month students will always have their monthly verses from the Quran to relate on what are they learning, especially on the first month was about body parts, sensational senses, and currently we're now at my family and friends. Sorry. So I have here a question for the question says, how he is planning to continue the program under the current situation, which is to deliver the program online. Because the program is based on outdoor activities. Can you elaborate more?
Maybe Carolina can then continue, but of course we understand that the world is changing, and in the long run we need to go to a more hybrid way, so that we understand that the children sometimes need to be at home and they cannot always attend the school. So when we prepare the material, we try to take into account that they can also be some of the activities at least can be also done remotely. Of course, it can never replace the social contacts and being together. And then, in addition to that, we grant the parents access to our home material. So this is something that we can also then open up more with you. There's a possibility that your parents can access our home material where you have simple activities that children can do at home together with parents or nannies. Carolina, do you want to open up the distant learning more, or the remote learning?
Well, I could maybe mention one thing, as we have talked about research, and actually now the first research studies about the effects of COVID-19 to young children's possibilities to learn and for equal learning have come out, and actually what the research states is that these type of hybrid models and young children not attending physical ECE services is actually quite harmful for the equality of learning of children, meaning that at this point, as the COVID-19 situation has created very different types of policies in different countries. For example, in Finland, young children have been able to go to kindergartens and then on the other hand, in many locations, all the kindergartens, preschools, schools have been closed. So this has actually created a lot of inequality among the children in the world. And what the studies are kind of like putting us to consider is very carefully whether closing down the kindergartens and whether this type of hybrid model is beneficial for young children or not. Of course, like Heikki said, we are trying to make our best to meet the different situations, and unfortunately, we can't change the politics. And we also need to balance between the education and the safety of people in our countries. But this is not very simple question in that sense. And personally, as an educator, I would really wish that all the politicians, decision makers around the world would very carefully think about the cons and the pros of closing down physical kindergartens. Personally, as an educator, I don't believe that online learning will be the best possible solution for young children. But of course, we need to be prepared to offer the best possible learning opportunities in that type of cases. But I just wanted to bring up this point of view from what I have already heard about the studies related to this topic.
So we truly hope that all the children can attend the early childhood education physically as soon as
Sure. All right. Next question from the audience state here. According to PISA report 2018, we noticed that the student quality is one of the best, but the learning time is one of the least in the world. How is that possible to achieve this such efficiency?
That's a very good question. I really don't have like the ready-made answer for this, but what I would say is that I think the basis is formed in the Finnish ECE, that actually the children who attend early education in Finland, they are quite well prepared to learn than in the elementary school, despite we do not very much pay attention to learning numbers or letters or anything like that in the kindergarten. Of course, we practice those, but there's not too much pressure on learning those too early. So I think somehow it might relate then to the students' attitudes towards the school. That, for example, in Finland, traditionally, students, especially in elementary, they have been quite happy about going to school. When we go to the teenage years, the interest goes down a bit, but I think that's very natural cycle, so to say. But I think it has something to do probably with the whole education system and the atmosphere that we have in the schools, that it motivates and supports the children to take the initiative and take the agency in their own learning. And when the kids are more motivated, they are also more likely to learn more efficiently. Of course, Finland also has relatively high qualifications for teachers, both in ECE as well as in elementary school. So teachers have university level degrees, and the teacher training in Finland in universities, it's very thorough. So it's not a very light studies that we take on the field of education. But yeah, I don't know whether any of this was a fact. So this was more like my lucky guess what might be the reasons behind.
Thank you so much. We've come to the end of our segment. Thank you so much for being here with us today. I had a very fruitful interaction with both of you. Such a pleasure to have you both with us today.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. And
looking forward to see you again soon.
Yes.
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you very much for this opportunity to present our concepts and philosophy to your parents and teachers. And we are very happy about our cooperation. And I'm sure that